Hey guys, it's John here. I'm going to do the differential fluid change on my 2018 Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio. What I read online, has 3 drain plugs and 3 fill plugs. So let's start out here. I've got the car jacked up. Not a really great way to jack this car up and get jack stands under it. There's 4 points, 2 on each side. I've got the jacks in, 1 on each side, and then, for redundancy, I've got the rhino ramps, but the suspension is hanging currently. So if for some reason the jacks failed or a jack failed, you would see some drop on that side. I've got this up a lot higher than probably I really need to. Enough room for me to use the creeper here to slide in and out, but definitely wish there was a better way to jack it up from the rear to where I could get my jack stands where the jack locations are currently at, but doesn't seem to be the case. So looks like the entire lower panel here with the air scoops for the differential and these air deflecting fins in the rear, looks like that entire panel needs to come off. And from what I've seen, it's all star bolts, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull those out. I'm not gonna film all of this because it would make it a really long video, so I'll just cut this up. I'll see you guys at the next step. All right, and we're back at step 2. So the cover was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. In the back, we had T55, 3 of those. That's a pretty big star. And we have 4 T22s, I believe. Midway up in the front, you got 10mm bolts, and then you have a bunch of rectangle. Basically, you need a trim tool. It's a rectangle trim tool. It's kind of similar to the circle ones I've seen before. Those were kind of a pain. You pretty much need a trim tool, pliers for that. Then where it connects to the secondary tray up there, it was a ton of 10mm bolts underneath that, so you really got to pull it back. It was a pain. My jacks were in the way. I had to move them to the front. So pretty much rhino ramps in the back, that's almost a must. And even if you had this thing on a 4-point lift, I don't know, I mean, they would have to be really I don't know, really small contact points on that lift, or maybe you would loosen those bolts before you got started on the lift. I'm not sure, but they were pretty much in the way, and they were going to be in the way of pulling the trim back to get to those 10mm. So step 2 is complete. Cover's off. I just slid it forward. Way too many rocks. Tons of gravel up in that tray. Good to get that stuff out. Kind of wish it didn't get caught up in there. But next step's going to be finding the drain plugs and draining this thing. And once I drain it, I'll update you guys in the video, and then we'll go to the fill procedure. Okay, on to the next step. I drain the fluid. Before I drain any fluid, this is a good tip to follow, make sure that you can remove the fill bolts. Because if you drain it first and then you realize, hey, I don't have the tools to get the fill bolts out, you're going to be in a pickle. So I did the driver's side first. And that fill bolt is way up there, very tight. Exhaust is right in the way. Tried my socket, didn't have any play with any of the socket wrenches that I had. Ended up using stubby 8mm and a long 8mm Allen wrench. I just happen to have 2 different sizes. I really needed like a super short one, or if I had a grinder or cutter, I would just cut that end piece in half, like here, because once you get it in there, it's such a pain on the fills. And that was the driver's side. I thought it was bad. The passenger side, oh man, it's on the back side of that heat shield right there, and it's up in that direction, similar to the driver's side, and it was an absolute pain. I probably could have taken that little heat shield off, maybe giving me a little more wiggle room with my hands, but that was such a pain. The main one, man, you have fill plug right there, drain plug right there, and that's the step that I'm on. So that'll be a really easy fill. I'm using the Ravenol fluid. Let me show you the bottle. These bottles, never seen these bottles before. I followed the instructions, but you know, I'm using a transfer pump because it's impossible to not use a transfer pump for those sides. Here's the Ravenol 75W85LS. It's the DGL. There's another number. I'll post it in the comments. It's right after the DGL part, but it's not listed on this bottle for some reason. This has a cap that pulls out, and it's got a spout that slides out of it. And the very first one, I mean, I butchered it because I pulled that out first, and then I tried to untwist, and it didn't seem like it was going to work. And then it started coming out of the tube. I mean, I made a mess. I bought 3 of these, and I'm glad I did because I lost a little bit of fluid. Plus, I mean, you're going to need 3. Because you're going to lose fluid in this transfer pump. You're not going to get all of that out of there. There's just no way. So, yeah, this is taking me a little bit longer than I thought. Like I said, if you had a stubbier Allen, that one there's like 4 inches long and maybe 1.5 inches on the top side. If that bottom section was maybe 2 inches, you'd be in good shape. Once you break it loose, then it's really easy, but you know, these bolts have quite a bit of thread on them. So that's pretty much it. I'm just gonna probably wrap the video up here because I'm gonna fill this, which is, you can't really do holding the camera. It's the hand pump, you know, you don't want to tip your jug over. I've used the pump before and stuck it in the actual jug that the fluid comes in, but then you can't really see. You got to use that little guide on the side, and you just can't really tell where you're at. And, you know, the hoses are kind of thick, so if you get them up in there, they almost create a seal. So you're waiting for a little bit of fluid to come out. And on the passenger side, I could not see the fluid coming out. And I saw it dripping a little bit. When I pulled the hose out, a lot came out. So I ended up actually putting quite a bit in there, and I just waited until it quit dripping and reinserted the bolt. But anyway, I've got giant hands, but they're pretty slim. And that was kind of a pain in the butt. If you've got slim, small hands, you're going to have a lot better time doing this than I did. But I don't know what the dealer would charge for this. I mean, overall, this has probably taken me 3 hours. So keep that in mind. I'm not a beginner mechanic. I've done a lot of stuff on my previous vehicle, and a lot of oil changes and transmission fluids and drive shafts, suspension stuff. So I've got a lot of tools, but sometimes, you know, every job's different a lot of times. So if I wanted to take the time, I could have gone to Harbor Freight and gotten some different tools. Or I could have dropped these, this section of the exhaust. I mean, that's a lot of work. But without the exhaust pipe in the way, you'd be in really good shape. You'd have a ton of room to work on that, to get, you know, the wrench play you need on the socket wrench. But anyway, if you have any questions, this will be posted on the forum or comment on the YouTube comments. I'm usually pretty good about getting back on and checking stuff. You know, I get email updates when people comment. So anyway, that's about it. This is John, and this is my Alfa Romeo Giulia Quadrifoglio with the eLSD, and it's got 3 fill ports and 3 drain ports, and it's a pain in the butt. But I hope this video helps. I really didn't see any videos like this anywhere, so see you later.